We will not copyright or trademark that. We do not have the rights to this at all. Please do not sue us. Thank you.
Welcome back to These Unprecedented Gays, your go-to podcast for all things queer, where we unpack the nuances of LGBTQ plus life in these unprecedented times.
Yeah. Still a reference to JD Vance.
I would not even trust him with my couch.
Well, Nick did a lot of the watching.
What was the thing you sent me by Instagram?
Okay.
It was hilarious.
So I think I said it to all of you, but what happened on MSNBC or something like that, somebody was doing an interview with a guy on the DNC floor, and a kid walks behind him, puts up his phone, and it says, JD Vance fucked the couch.
Oh my god.
And I was like, on national television live.
Was it on Fox?
No, it was on MSNBC or CNN or
It would have been so much better if it was on Fox.
Well, like Fox was already in their own, like, because they were talking about the DNC, and they were like, "Oh, it's so boring." Blah blah. Blah. Like Jesse Waters was talking about how boring and it's not very fun and everything. Next to like there being a DJ, people dancing, and all this stuff.
It is utter jubilation.
So this was so funny because it was such a. I mean, it was literally the same stream. On the one side of the camera is him talking about it being a funeral, and on the other one, it looks like a discotheque.
Yes.
It was so fun. I was like, I know which roll call I want to be part of.
Yeah, right? I'm like, so I'm Paul.
And I'm Joe.
And we're These Unprecedented
And
Gays.
if you know a different voice or hear a different voice.
Yeah, so we are putting a bunch in the can because...
Can
Joe
it,
and
bitch.
Nick, I know, can this. Because Nick and Joe are going to go to London. They're going to go to Europe.
I know.
They're going to check out Stonehenge. And
I'm going to be
Bath
gone. Yeah, it's going to be busy because I'll be in Ohio for work, and then I get back, and then we go to London.
I mean, Ohio is just like London.
No. Although someone told me that Cleveland's Broadway scene is just as big as New York, and I was like, that is a stretch.
No.
I mean, they usually call Ohio the London.
Cleveland is the West End of Ohio.
It's not. Oh my god! But I think it's how they like make it so that they get. It's how they rationalize it.
Yeah. Well, with that being in mind, we don't have a lot to catch up on this week, but we do have a special guest in the studio with us. She is a fashion stylist, an icon, an ex-Mormon, and her name is Natalie Tincher. She's also a friend of Nick's, and we love that.
We go way back.
Oh my god, welcome to These Unprecedented Days.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we can ask you
I'm
what
just
your
happy
week
to be
is.
nominated.
You are nominated.
My week was fabulous. I just got back from London.
Oh.
London
Perfect.
or Cincinnati?
Well,
Ohio.
both. I'm a Midwesterner, so I am, Indiana's basically the LA of the Midwest.
Okay, there you go. I heard that's like the Dubai of the U.S.
Oh my god.
It's Singapore.
Oh my god.
Anchorage of the...
But what did you do in London?
Oh, well, I'm in my Swiftie era, so I got to hang out with 92K of my closest friends in Wembley.
It is ridiculous. Like that, it's like, they were like, Wembley fits like 92,000 people.
I didn't realize.
And she 5 shows. They're all sold out.
What's it called?
Ridiculous. Wembley? Yeah, Wembley Stadium.
Sports.
Not Wimbledon, right?
No, not Wimbledon.
Okay.
Not Wimbledon.
No.
But that's
That
in
only
London.
holds 92 people.
Oh.
Intimate.
Wimbledon
Unless
is
they're on
the
the court.
Wembley of London.
But did you love it? Was it amazing?
It was iconic, and you hear how amazing the concert is, but then when you experience it, I'm a crier. It's like 92,000 people that were so happy and kind to each other, and it's just...
It is so
hope,
loud,
and
though.
It was so loud.
It is so loud.
My Apple Watch just kept doing loud environment.
Oh, yeah.
Quiet.
It seems like you're in a noisy place.
Yeah,
It's weird.
your watch is like, are you at a Taylor Swift concert?
Hopefully, it didn't tell you to stand up.
And then, because it's like, but you know what the funny thing is that they're so loud, but you can still hear Taylor perfectly.
Perfectly.
And I was
mean, I love that childless cat lady.
And then, did you love the light up bracelets and how they worked inside the stadium?
It was
together.
One of my friends was in tech, and she was even impressed when we were on the floor. She was basically singing to me. And
It looked like it in your picture.
She was like, yes, queen.
She's like, Natalie, hey.
See you later. It was so cool. It was just an experience that I usually am like, is it really that great? It was beyond my wildest dreams.
Because you flew from here in San Diego directly to London just for this concert.
Newsflash, there is a direct flight.
Yeah,
San
there
Diego to
is.
London.
Only one a
Are
day.
you guys taking it?
No.
No, we're not. San Francisco. But we can see it every day. The British Airways comes in at like 5:10 p.m.
But Nick probably is going to fly first class to London, and Joe is
if
going
I'm
economy.
Yeah, no. I will be saving my points for another day.
Because of the dog, we have to take him to San Francisco, and then it's direct from San Francisco.
Okay.
That's not too bad.
That makes
So
sense.
you left from San Diego, went to London. How long did that whole trip take? Like, was it like you were there for like a day, you
I
flew
was
for
there
a day?
72 hours.
Oh my God, stop it. So not even, are you jet lagged?
I have a lot of reserves of energy, so my social battery is very high.
Or you didn't even have time to get jet
I'm
lagged.
still, my cup is so full this week because I had my Swiftie joy and then the DNC. It just like felt like this big collective cloak
Your
lifted
joy
off of
cuppeth
me.
runneth
It
over.
does runneth overeth and spilleth.
It is flooded.
It is flooding. It is flooding. So I just feel like there's so much joy in the air right now that it's kept me going.
I don't know how you can do that when criminals are pouring in from our borders.
And they're stealing our jobs.
Black job.
I keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
And they're all non-binary. Welcome them all. We welcome, they're on the podcast, yeah.
Well, you know what? Speaking of joy, it's time for us to do, but does she eat? All right, so
got
my did she eat is Kamala at the DNC with her speech. And, I mean, she, like, ate it up, regurgitated it, ate it again, didn't leave anything for anybody else.
And then swept it up.
Yeah.
It was so great.
So
I was
she
telling
was
Nick,
fantastic.
Yeah. And it's just the way there's like a cadence that she has. It reminds me of like the Barack Obama days where he just was a storyteller and it was like very connected. I was telling Nick, like whoever her speechwriters are, it's
Trevor the
Trevor the
twink.
Twunk.
Her team is a bunch of twinks. Like gay twinks.
For sure.
No, a non-binary twink named Trevor.
But you know what the thing is that I was reading a news article about it, and somebody wrote something perfect. It was that is a speech that Biden could have gave, but he never would have been able to deliver it like her.
And she's a good orator. I think
She
that's
is.
the word. It's just, again, like, it's very, you're enamored when she talks. Because I walked out, like, I was in the office area in the apartment, and Nick was watching it, and I was like, let me just see. And then I couldn't leave because I was, like, transfixed, and I was like, she captivated my energy and my attention. And I was like, wow. Like, it was about hope. It was about unity. And it was like, all of the things that you want, it was like you touched on everything.
Well, and
Points.
I'm also very happy. Like I will say, the Democratic Party is also eating, and the DNC ate because they had the highest number of Republicans who spoke at the DNC, and everybody stayed on message. It was like every time somebody got up there, they were like joy, hope, joy, hope, and it was like
Future.
They were like. Everybody stayed on topic, and they were like, we're not gonna, there's a little bit of here and there where
It's cohesive.
we don't want to go back,
Yeah.
but it's like, everything was about how we're gonna move forward.
It was refreshing. Yeah, almost like you said, it's refreshing, it's invigorating, it's energizing, it's hope. It's
my
all the
did she
things.
eat is the cameraman at the DNC.
Oh my God.
When they said the
childless cat lady, when Oprah said childless cat lady, and they went to a woman, and she was like,
Oh, they Wendy Williams did. They Wendy Williams
just like
did.
a crowd shot, but it happened to go on this one person, and then one of the late night comedians was like, and we did some research, and she is childless, and she owns 2 cats.
It sounds like a great Saturday Night Live.
well, and it's very much the Wendy
is Wendy
Williams
Williams.
cameraman, because
They do it dirty.
they do it dirty on that.
They'll have like a guest who's like, overweight and like battling like for like eating or whatever, and then they'll like pan to someone who's like larger in the crowd, or like a bald man is the guest, and then they like there's a bald person that they go to.
Yeah,
it is very Wendy Williams, but
it
also
was hilarious.
Yeah,
I have to share my. Just because it was like Joe was like screaming like a little girl. Is when Kerry Washington came out.
Olivia Pope.
Because he's been watching Scandal at home.
Yes, but I don't know any of their names, so I know her.
So
it's
he
Olivia
calls
Pope.
her Olivia
I was
Pope.
like, Olivia
Okay.
Pope is on the TV, and then the
Goldman.
president
He
guy.
comes out too. Like
Tony
President
Goldman.
Joey
Yeah,
Server.
and I was like, wow, he is not aged.
He almost died. He was like screaming. He was like, "Oh my god, I love them both."
And Tony Goldwyn is good.
He's fine. Well, because Scandal happened almost 10 years ago,
Right.
and he looks the
And,
same.
and you
Yeah,
know
it's a
who
long
else I thought
time.
was really cute? Adam Kinzinger. I know he's a Republican, but like I was
Wait,
like,
who's
okay.
Adam Kinzinger?
He was one of the Republicans who came out and like was against Donald Trump. So
Wait.
so he came.
Oh, he was on the impeachment board.
Yes, and he was
Or not the board,
about
the
two
impeachment.
people before Kamala came out and spoke.
He is
So.
cute. He's also well because he's a Republican, but he's one of those Republicans that are like, "This isn't my party."
Right.
Like, I'm not for MAGA. Like, I'm a Republican
Correct.
because I believe in like conservative and like the small government and yada yada and like that sort of thing. Like, he's like, I'm not MAGA. No.
So what's your who did you think?
I don't have any eating,
Well, I just told you.
but
you
I think
West-
I guess Olivia Pope
Olivia
ate,
Pope.
Okay.
or whatever her real name is.
What about you?
Well, mine is Michelle Obama slaying all around.
Oh my god.
Number one,
yes.
I'm actually writing an article about her style evolution because that's what I
Yeah.
do from when she was, first lady to now, and she is unapologetically slaying in her Mons suit and her message. Like I was, and the love between Michelle and Barack, and I felt like that was just another moment that I was in tears.
I love how like somebody, I think it was like Fox News, and they were like complaining about Michelle, and they were like, she talked about her parents told her not to trust anybody who makes a lot of money or something like that, and she's wearing a $3,000, and I'm like, okay, calm
Okay,
down.
yes.
If that's all you have, like,
Check
I need
yourself.
you to go.
My favorite Michelle Obama story is, I don't remember who it was, but it was like a mutual friend's friend or something on Facebook posted Michelle Obama is such a man or whatever, and I was this close to commenting to this guy and be like, your misogyny shows that her balls are bigger than yours.
Yeah.
But I didn't,
Such a
and I wish I would have.
I'm gonna put a pin in my question because I do want to hear about this because it's like you post a lot of this where you're like, oh, this person was wearing this, and I would love to know how, like, is it just because your familiarity with what the styles are or whatever, or do you like you're like, oh, this is definitely this person's design, and I'm gonna go and just like confirm that it is because like you've done it a lot where you're like, so and so's wearing this, so and so's wearing that.
It's
just
a combo of both because there's so much out there, and a lot of these things are custom as well.
Yeah.
So I always do my research too. So if I don't know, I number one confirm because I don't like to have fake news.
How liberal of you.
How
Fact
liberal
check.
of me to fact check. So, and then I also learn a lot of new designers because Michelle Obama is someone who promotes new designers,
Yeah.
and I think that's so amazing.
We're gonna get into that
Yeah,
too.
we are.
Yeah,
Because I have
Nick's,
that down.
Nick's getting excited.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
it's okay.
Because the fact that you knew that when you're like, oh, like that's you watch TV in a completely different way.
Nick, it's obvious it's Jean-Paul Gaultier. That's a style person, right? That's a style person?
It is.
Yeah! That's all I know. That's my one. And Gucci,
It's a good
Mr.
one.
Gucci.
Mr. Gucci.
And Donatella Versace.
You know more? Look
Yeah,
at all
see,
that.
That's it.
Yeah.
I only know because
Lady Gaga
Lady Gaga.
songs.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey, Art Pop was all about fashion. Looking good and feeling fine.
It's true.
Hey.
All right. So then that means we can move on to our other segment. Mouth to mouth. Mouth to mouth resuscitation. Joe, I heard you have a couple of them, so go ahead. Start off.
I have
girl.
two. Well,
okay.
so I am a bad basic fall bitch because yesterday you informed. Well, I'll set the tone. So it's early, I think like 7 a.m. And Paul
And I
goes,
knew you were already up because I saw that you liked.
Girl, I'm up. Yeah, I'm up at like 6. So,
At 5:40.
so like, get a text in the podcast group chat, and Paul goes, "Joe, did you get your pumpkin spice latte?" And it was like,
No, it's like, Joe, did you go to Starbucks?
and I was like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, for PSL, and I was like, oh,
And I was
"It's
like-
back."
I was like, today's the day, girl.
So, listen, I'm off of it because last year I was in Europe at this time and PSL came out and Europe doesn't believe in pumpkins. So like it wasn't happening. And so this year I'm off kilter, and so it didn't happen yesterday. But I went to Starbucks this morning and I got my cold brew coffee with a pump and spice. With a pump and spice times 4. And it was majestic. The formula's changed a little though.
Do they do sugar-free pumpkin spice?
No.
Oh.
Get out of here with that.
Because
That is
in
rude.
order to listen, you need the sugar to be. It's fueling your brain. Yeah, listen,
Because
your brain.
pumpkin is not good on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I've tried to make the mock-up whatever the copycat one. It was not good.
Good.
So pumpkin spice at Starbucks is giving me life, and then Olivia Pope at the Democratic National Convention.
Okay.
I'm telling you, like,
so much
because I was like, okay, like. I felt like I was watching the TV show because I am. I was like, is Scandal on right now? Because I'm like in it. I'm on season 3 and I'm like,
Scandal
wait a
IRL.
minute. Why is she making is where's the other guy? Like, I don't know any of their names. Like Cyprus or whatever. Like, where's the guy? And like the president man. I was like, what is happening? So that was giving me life. Those 2 things. And yeah, that's my livings. What are yours? If you have any.
What is giving me life? I am okay. So the Aces have a new song out called "Daydream." They're a group from Provo, Utah. They're a girl group.
Y'all should
He
know.
follows an all-girl group from Provo.
Provo, you didn't.
Provo. Oh no, she better know.
Yeah.
No, they're fantastic. And so if you like girl rock, I would say check out the Aces. Okay.
What would you describe their sound as?
Sort of like Haim, a little bit like Tegan and Sarah.
Oh.
Very much that girl-driven pop rock.
Okay.
And I also am living for the fact that Chapo Run was at Olivia Rodrigo's show in LA, and she pulled her out of there. So I'm like,
Wait, as an audience member, or as a guest?
No, as a special
singer.
guest.
Okay.
She came out and did Hot to Go.
Okay.
And I'm sure that place just went like freaking crazy
In LA?
In LA, because Chapo Run, like she's the number one.
She's hit.
But I am mad at Taylor Swift though.
Gasp.
Because she released another special edition of Tortured Poet Society with 2 more songs on it, and that's going to keep Chapo Run from having the number 1 album. Which I'm like,
music drama.
On what?
Yeah.
Like the top 100?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know they still track those. How
Yeah,
do they do
do.
that?
Well,
How
but
do they
they
do
also
that
added
with
streaming. They added streaming too.
Because usually it was sales.
And I will say this, I learned something new about Chapo Run. She wrote Hot to Go because she wanted something that people could sing along to and dance to. And it was like an actual like cheer kind of thing. So when she does it, she goes HOTTOGO. Yes. So and I was like, when you look at it, Lollapalooza, Outside Lands, everywhere she goes, everybody in the audience is doing
Knows it.
no matter how many people are in the audience.
Good for
Everybody's doing
her.
it.
It's like, oh my gosh, in Japan when they do the like exercising with like ichi, ni, son, go, like where they do that like on the rooftops of corporate. Nope. Am I alone in this? Guess I'm alone in that one.
Not to like talk too much about what I do, but like I watch CNBC a lot, and today a lot of the different programmers or the commentators were like talking about HOTTOGO, and I was like, she's now infiltrated like financial television too.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's so awesome. And they're all like, talking about different companies being HOTTOGO, and I'm like, is that so? And,
That's
like,
so cool.
it's so-
Hatago. That's how I would do it.
I know about Chaperone because of like Paul bringing it up.
Yeah.
That's
So-
why I usually send him a text message and like, oh my god, I'm finally listening to her, and she's
Yeah.
or them or whatever. She's so great. They're so great.
I love
Do you,
it.
do you have anything giving you life besides seeing Taylor Swift?
I mean, how can it not be Taylor Swift? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
What was
all
your
I
favorite
got.
song she performed?
Ooh.
Okay, well, I love All Too Well.
the 10-minute version.
I was there for it. It's my new, it's all coming back to me now is the song I could hear over and
Oh.
over. And so this is like my new, it's all coming back to me now.
Is that your
It's
favorite
just-
Taylor song ever?
I think it might be.
Okay.
I think it might be. And then Blank Space is always just.
Oh, I like
so,
that one.
are you a fan of Folklore and Evermore?
I like them.
Okay, so those are my.
I love a Betty.
That was my sitting down eras.
So I like
one of those eras. I'm like, oh, I can sit down now.
I like folklore.
And I could stand for 6 hours.
Oh, girl.
Wait, hold on.
I'm too old to be doing all that.
Wait, I thought it was a 3-hour show.
No. She performed for 3 hours.
You were in a stadium for 6 hours. Mm-hmm. Did you have a dinner provided in between?
No.
Did you dress up?
Yeah.
Like, were you a lyric in a song?
So I was Lover Meets Reputation. So I had these snakeskin pants, but they were in this like iridescent, mermaidy, like pastel-y.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Okay.
Did you wear a shirt?
No.
No.
Pure pasties.
That was the lover part.
I was a girl.
I actually, you know what? Topless beaches. Yeah.
Wherever you are, that's what I say, and this is me.
Okay.
It was bare chest and foreskin everywhere.
Oh my.
Oh dear.
All right, so let's get into knowing Natalie Tincher. So, Natalie, you know Nick, and how do you know Nick?
So Nick and I go way back to Provo to bring it full circle.
The Aces.
The Aces. We were two Aces.
We were.
We worked together as students at a place called Publications and Graphics, which was a department in Brigham Young University.
Is that propaganda for the Mormon
Basically.
people? Okay.
But what did you write?
She was a great editor.
I was first a secretary, where I should be. No.
Go back to there.
And then I was an editor.
Yeah.
So I was.
But you're a woman.
Oh.
I know. Wild. So we met. I mean, God knows.
Yeah, we did. I don't necessarily know how or why we like connected because I was in the basement, and my job was to do the speeches.
So you were in the closet.
I was just going to say, in the basement and the closet.
Wait,
I think she probably always knew I was.
Were
gay,
you
too.
both students? Like this was like an on-campus job, but you were already doing editing even then.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I think they all loved her, or they were afraid of you.
That one.
It could be. It could be
Yeah.
both.
You are femme fatale.
Do you think being on the inside of that changed your view of the religion?
So it was interesting. If we're just going to get into it,
Why not?
Let's get into it. You knew my ex-husband because I was started working there as my sophomore year as a secretary, and then I got married my junior year of college because that's what you have to do. Because
That's part of the
Wait,
curriculum.
how? No,
Marriage.
At what, 20?
I was barely 21.
Because how can you do that if you don't start having babies?
Correct,
Yeah.
and you can't have sex before.
Obviously.
Married,
Same,
so
yeah.
We had a maybe 2-month engagement, and
Oh, he was hot to go, y'all.
He was
HOTTO.
he did his mission first,
Yeah.
and I kind of waited for him, but I didn't really.
I think you were his mission.
I was going to say that!
I was his mission.
Well, and I got that job because like I was lucky to get it, and it was just happenstance. And then I was sending out. I would make speeches of like BYU or excuse me, like Mormon like speakers that would come to BYU, and if they spoke, whatever they like
Your transcriber?
I don't want to use the word propaganda.
It's probably.
Oh, okay.
But
Copy. You
could
used
order,
copy.
You could order those, and I was the one that like created the DVD or CD and then mailed it out.
Oh, okay.
That was like innovative and ahead of the time.
It
and
really
you
was.
came in to be the sound guy.
Then I did the sound stuff, which was awesome, and we just like chat. We'd like shoot the shit. I'd come up and just be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
We were
You're cool.
buddies. We were definitely buddies.
Can I just say, I just want to say something, just looking at the two of you right now, it is like a Mormon ad. Okay? I swear to God.
Yeah.
only had like 4 little.
You know that's the thing. Mormon ads are a thing. You can Google Mormon ad and it's
Yeah.
a thing.
You look like
And
you
her
were doing
face
a-
was white as snow.
Family, it's about time. That's
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
the church.
it's like-
Usually there's a
Latter-day
picture
Saints.
on the wall behind
Yeah,
you
like
of the
blue eyes,
tabernacle.
blonde hair,
Like this
Aryan
one.
race.
This is the gossip. Don't pass it on, and it's just like hands with oil.
No, I mean, like you two look like two Mormon
We do.
content
Yeah, 100%.
creators right now.
We could, you know what? That could have been our life. It really could,
It really
have been our life.
And it was like a prestigious thing because like BYU magazine
Yeah.
was was a big deal.
Well, because BYU is a prestigious university, right?
It
So
is.
the fact that we were in this like space was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was, and I learned a lot. We got a great education. I
Yes.
never wanted to go to BYU. My parents made me, and so I ended up finding those people. It's almost like there's a secret Mormon handshake. We had a separate secret Mormon handshake where you're almost like,
Oh.
All right, so like they have a lot of egregious rules and honor code. Did you follow that? Or
I did not.
You were counterculture.
So it was interesting because I went through this ebb and flow of rebellion and then getting back on the quote unquote straight and narrow, confessing to my bishop, and which you have to do.
We've all done that.
When you have a sexual transgression,
Yeah.
you have to go and tell a man who is not actually trained to be clergy. He could be like your car salesman. He could be your third grade teacher.
It could be my little brother who's 32 years old.
Oh.
And you have to, the only way to be forgiven from any of your sexual transgressions is to tell this man in a room, just the two of you, about
The act.
Event.
What's
So
a
he gives-
sexual transgression?
Having sex.
heavy
sex.
petting. No, more things than that. Heavy petting, necking.
That's true. Necking. Oh my
What's
god.
necking?
So necking, we went behind the barn and necked.
Is it like making out?
Yeah, making out. Like,
I didn't know there was a name for that.
It's a really intense makeout.
Oh, you have to hear all the things. They call things Levi Lovin' at BYU, which is dry.
Is that when you're all
Dry
clothes
humping.
but humping? Like, okay. See,
What's
and
the
I'm like,
what's the thing where other people
Soaking.
bounce on the bed?
Soaking.
Yeah.
I never did that.
That's not a thing.
and yes, it is. Yeah.
Y'all find any excuse, not you. Y'all, y'all.
Someone else is creating the friction, so all you're doing is standing there passively.
Oh my god.
Well, but like also, this person that you're telling this to was just putting that shit in his spank bank. For
Oh,
later.
100%. It's like, oh, this
They'll
beautiful,
confess
beautiful
it to
woman.
their bishop, and so on,
and so on and so on.
Things will come out.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell me more.
So,
yeah.
But like, okay, so you're no longer in that. How did you get to the point where you were like, I need to leave this?
Yeah, I would
thing?
say to, again, go full circle London. I was actually just talking to my therapist about this. I was on study abroad. It was a BYU study abroad, but I went to London, and this like part of Natalie that was I'd locked away came out, and I was going to the club, and I would sneak out. And I remember once I snuck back in after a night of clubbing, and these girls were leaving at 4 a.m. to go to the Wedgwood China outlet.
I would do that.
As a 20-year-old.
Wait, what's
Yeah,
the
girl, I
wedge?
was gay.
True.
Is it like China, the plates?
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Wedgwood is
Oh.
amazing.
British China porcelain.
Oh.
So it's beautiful.
I would do that at 4 a.m. though.
They were leaving to get on the train at 4 a.m. to take a journey, and I was just coming back from my night out, and I turned into Harry Potter, and I remember running under the staircase to hide from them so I didn't get caught being out. And then I ran up to my room, and I remember then I came back from study abroad, and I was like, I'm going to hold to this, Natalie. And then I went back because I felt a lot of pressure from my family. So then I got back on the straight and narrow, got pushed into this marriage. It was awful. He was an abusive, terrible human being. And then we moved to New York, though, and that was this world of reinvigorating that Natalie. And I'm like, hell no, nope, can't do this. It doesn't feel good to be playing two different roles. I feel like I can fly when I'm me and not with these constraints of this religion that just doesn't feel like me.
So what was the trigger that made you guys collectively move to New York? Was it one of your jobs?
It was for him. He did finance. Yeah. So that is, when you think about the silver lining of something, it got me to New York. And then I went to FIT and started my business and made friends there outside of the church and outside of our mutual friends. And it was like, I can do this. All right, be brave.
It just reinforces the idea, though, that when you're in communities that are insular, and it doesn't have to be Mormonism,
Correct.
even like Hasidic Jews and Catholics, wherever, like when you're in those kind of contained spaces and you don't get to interact with other people, it helps them support kind of keeping you on the straight and narrow.
Well, there's so many dialogues, which Nick can also speak to this, where there's a lot of gaslighting that if you read anything that's not
Mormon
approved, it's anti-Mormon.
Oh.
Or if you question something, you're rebellious and you just have to have faith. And I remember telling my dad it was really important to me to sit down with my parents who were converts to the Mormon church. So I wasn't what you call pioneer stock. We were converts in Indiana, so I didn't really grow up with a lot of Mormons. And I remember telling my dad, I'm not in the church anymore. And he asked why. And I said, well, it feels like I'm trapped. And he just looked at me, which was amazing for me. But I did it at a time when I was like, if I get rejected, that's okay. And he's like, I just want my baby girl to be happy.
Aww.
And I get it. It was really beautiful. So then I could say, okay.
Yeah, props to your dad.
Right.
He's a cool guy.
Is it your experience? Because I noticed when people who I know from Mormon faith, the converts can sometimes be more zealous because it's their choice.
Like a born again?
Well, I had it in a work environment where there were like 4 or 5 people that were Mormon all working in the same office, and most of them did not try to proselytize or they just lived their life and it was fine. But the one that was the one always sitting at lunch and trying to have conversations with you and was the convert, and it was just seemed odd. Like, I didn't know if that was a pattern or if that was just...
It wasn't so much with my parents, and so I can only speak to myself, but my dad was more the type where he came from. He was a little, we call him a sweet rebel, where he would actually break some of the Mormon rules, and not really breaking, but he would
sweet rebel.
He'd bend them a little bit.
He'd bend them.
Would he
I like sweet
like
rebel.
a nice tea every once in a while?
We'd go and have lunch on a Sunday.
Yeah. Those have been
Oh, you're so dirty.
I know.
Sweet rebel.
Well,
Sweet
my
Rebel is a
dad
great name.
was so cool.
Sounds like a
because-
Taylor Swift name. Or
Exactly.
song.
It's my ice cream flavor. That's it. Ben and Jerry's flavor. But I think what I saw with my dad is he always bended these rules when it was for the greater good of a human. So he would do things and be like, I'm going to skip church today, sissy, because this person needs help. And so that actually, I think, influenced my rebellion of when the Mormon church came out, like, so much against, LGBTQ plus, women's rights. And I'm like, nope, I believe so much in supporting humans, and this isn't a direct misalignment. So that was my, nope, can't do this.
So let's move on to the fact that, because you mentioned that you went to FIT.
Yeah, is that the
Because-
Fashion Institute of Technology?
That's where your mom
My mom went to FITM
Oh.
in San Francisco, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Oh, okay.
So, because you did that, why did you pick fashion styling
So
and being a stylist?
You know what? There's two things. One is, as I was leaving the Mormon church, I did wear the Mormon magic undergarments, and so there was so much about. I loved fashion, but I didn't have the opportunity to truly explore for myself because I had certain
What do
modesty
you mean?
constraints.
Mormon clothing is very fashionable.
Not the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
We love your knee, skirts and
You'll remember
shorts.
this. They had special Mormon lines of clothing. I forget the name of them now, but they would basically give you like a cap sleeve
I
shirt.
I have a
What
friend
was
that
it?
owns them. Hold on, let me figure out. Alties? I'll
There was
figure
like
it
a
out.
couple of them. They became the Spanx of like the offshoots of Mormonism. So you have to wear this like cap sleeve thing under your tank top, or it was like the way to wear.
You couldn't wear a tank top.
Interesting. But you picked fashion styling,
So yeah, I went to school. It's called image consulting, and when I went to New York, I was like, you know what? How do I merge where I came from and this New York world? And also, as much as I love fashion, the fashion industry can be really exclusionary as well. So I'm learning that's my theme in life: is if something feels like there's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, I want to be this big hug of like love, like a kind community to say, you know what? No, there are kind people. Here's a soft landing.
See, it's called half tea. No diss to this person because I think it's great that she's capitalizing on the
Yeah.
Mormon fashion.
Working
More
within
fashion.
that restriction.
But
It's a
it
niche.
was always like covering up for modesty, right? Like she's wearing stuff that's always like the under stuff. Anyway,
But those are crop tops.
I think it's to go under your garments.
I know, but then other people could just wear them as crop tops.
No, that's what she wants to make it sound like you can. Anyway,
it's layering fashion.
It's layered like us as individuals.
She's like Shrek.
I made that joke at work, and it was like, it always comes back to Shrek and onions because everyone has layers. It did not land. It wasn't this safe space like tugayspod.
That's sad. So I went there and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of people that want to explore their identity in this world, and this should be for normal people. And when I started my business in 2010, there were maybe 3 other personal stylists. And so I was like, why not me? Why not now? Mm-hmm. And they were all had like lipstick and high heels and were very girly at the time. So I just started my business, and there we go.
And now, did you start off with like when you do personal styling? Are you also doing personal shopping, or is it more like you went with them to a store and you kind of like worked with them, or did you go to like fashion houses with them and
it depends.
Kind of do that?
Starting off, I didn't have that higher echelon clientele. It was really aligned with where I was usually in my budgets, but I would do wardrobe. I'd go through their closets and do a cull, and then we'd make what I call a strategic shopping list, and then we shop together. And I like to now my ethos is so much like, who are you on the inside? How do we authentically present that through your wardrobe choices and connect with the world around you, but also be really thoughtful in our buying decisions, because fast fashion is and so just to be more conscientious and conscious consumers. So we'll do shopping, and then the last session for a typical client is we would style them. So we'd mix and match all their looks, put it in a little shared closet, like a digital lookbook, and then they have that. That's me for.
I'm noticing you do have a style, because on your website you have your shirt with your jacket and your scarf around. And sitting here, you have a shirt with a scarf around.
Is that a neckerchief?
It's a signature. This is from a brand I love called Rockins, and they're a London brand.
Is that just a scarf?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
It's just a little.
How do you find, like, are there certain designers or provisions that you lean towards that, like, they just always attracted you, or?
So I have 2 things. One is I have a proprietary assessment that's called the VU Style 6, and I believe everyone's a collection of different style personalities, and so they're more about. I'll send it to all of you for my gifts to you. For
I was like, what if? I was like, I need to look somewhat decent as I have a ratted shirt, and I was like, she's gonna read us the film. And before we started recording, I was like, Paul, what do you think she'll say of our style? I am a stay-at-home worker that doesn't see people.
I came as the before. I was hoping that.
This is Natalie part 2. She's going to take us all to Nordstrom.
That'd be a great segment.
No, we need to go. That's a little above the budget. Maybe not Home Goods. TJ Maxx / Marshalls.
You're Maxinistas.
Yes.
But I think so. You guys, you're relaxed, so that would be comfort's key. So each one aligns with who you are, and we're all a spread of them, and you can flex it in different environments.
Is that pulled from like industry like experience, or is there like scientific like here's what you could be, or is that what you developed?
So there was one from like the 80s, and it was very gendered and very socioeconomically limiting. So it was based on like, I'm at polo matches, so I'm this style. And so I saw this, and there was things called your feminine style, and I was like, I want ungendered, I want race inclusive, and so I took that and developed an entirely new way of doing it.
Yeah.
So that's something I like to do, is when I see something that's, I think, outdated and bullshit, then I would like to create a kinder and
you modernize it.
way. So I have that, and then in terms of, so that will connect people with certain brands that would be speak to that aesthetic. And I also really, in this day and age, love supporting independent designers. I would say that's a space where all the big companies are owned by LVMH, and Bernard Arnault doesn't need any more money. So I'd rather support independent designers.
How do you find them? How do you like discover a look or a style that really appeals to you?
Well, that is where the beauty of social media. So my feed is targeted. Well, I have a friend in France who always sends me, she was a colleague from Fashion Week days years ago, and she'll send me different designers. So I think I've built such a good community. So we just are always researching, looking at the ethics of a company. Is it fair wages? Is it something that I stand behind and want to support that?
Oh, that's great that you go that deep into it. It's not just the aesthetic, it's their principle.
It's where who you are is my podcast and ethos is that, what does it look like to wear your values? What does it look like to communicate your intent?
And you stay like, do you try to stay on top of like trends and stuff like that, or is it just not something you even worry about?
So it's really hard in this world now because there's this idea that they call trends, which is actually a micro trend or fad, like slap bracelets of old, where it's like we get this new core every week. It's like now it's trad wife, or now
it's so much to take in, and I was wondering like how do you like triage all those sorts of things, because it's almost like every day's a new trend.
I don't, and that's where I say, like, quiet that.
Yeah.
Let's align with you. Stay current, but really you should buy things that you want to keep for years and years. And then you just strategically update to evolve with the times instead of chasing every new trend, because most of them aren't you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I mean, you mentioned fast fashion, and like that's I think a lot of the things, and I've been guilty of getting those sorts of things too. Like I have stuff from H&M. Although I will say that I've had a suit from H&M for like almost a decade.
H&M and Zara were so different 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Before they prescribed to this like instant.
They pump out stuff left and right, and that's where like for like keeping up with it, like obviously social media, but like how do you like almost have like the vision, like foresight to see like maybe what's coming, like here's what's current now, but like this is coming back, like this is making a resurgence.
So there's a fashion cycle, and then another good thing is to look at fashion weeks because they present 6 months ahead of time. So if you see something, you know, like now for fall, we're going to see spring trends coming out
already. Oh my God.
So fashion week this fall will be for spring. So if you're interested in something, you can say, oh, well, it's coming out next spring as well, so this is probably a longer trend cycle versus a quick fast fashion. And then does this align with me? So even if it's sort of out of whatever's big right now, you're still going to love it.
Do you usually create like vision boards for your clients, like, you know, cutouts of things that you like, color swatches, you know, things like that?
We do an inspiration board and talk through that. A little bit of a difficulty is sometimes until people actually see it on their body, they'll have their own limiting beliefs. And so I also know when I first start working with a client that we're not looking for a 180 change. I'm like, let's just make a few small adjustments and gain trust, because they need to trust you first. Otherwise, they'll be super limited. So I'll just make them try something sometime. Like, this might be for data.
Paul made me go to the symphony in this crazy outfit the whole night. He will not be my stylist.
Push too much.
Well, I was like, just get over it.
It was an 80s outfit. You looked great.
I saw that.
It was cute, right?
I loved it. It was very Saved by the Bell.
Yes.
I was like,
And it was like
it
was almost, it looked like a onesie, you know what I mean? But what I was gonna say is like, there's almost like, what I find fascinating about style is that I don't have it per se, but like I can appreciate it, and like there is a scientific element to it, you know what I mean? Like color theory, and the fact that like some skin tones look better on these with warm and cool, and the fact that like very different like shapes are flattering on different sorts of things. So that's where my eye goes, because I'm like a sciencey guy. Do you like, is that on autopilot when you're doing assessments with clients, where you're like, oh hey, like I'm gonna look at this?
It's just now second nature. I've been doing this for 14 years. But one thing I'll say about flattering and shapes is one thing that I've really learned is not to assume somebody wants to dress a certain way that we're told. So that's one thing I hate, again, is changing that body type thing. First of all, we're not a fruit. We're a person.
We
are fruit. I think you're the only fruit that's not. You're not a fruit. We are all part of the cornucopia.
That's the grapefruit. But I always ask people, I'm like, if you have a larger chest, do you like to emphasize or de-emphasize it, depending on the setting that you're in? Then we can use objective wardrobe principles. But I never walk in and say, oh, this is so flattering, because I don't know somebody's relationship with their body either.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you feel like you have to be somewhat of a sort of like how hairdressers are therapists? You have to be a therapist as well, because some people dress a certain way because they feel comfortable, and that's like an armor for them.
Oh, that's a valid point.
Armor, there's so many. I mean, the minute I see somebody, they're basically getting naked and putting clothes on in front of me, so they have to talk to me about their entire relationship with their body, and we talk through it a lot, and a lot of it comes from their mothers or religion or something else, and so that's a lot of teaching them those objective principles when I look at their goals of hey, know that you can't see yourself objectively, but I'm looking at you objectively, and I think all of my clients, I've had hundreds of clients, I think they're truly all beautiful and special and wonderful, and so I try to reflect that, and I love humans, so I'm just like, let me just be a big hug of love and help you.
Yeah, how do you deal with when someone's got like severe body dysmorphia where you can tell them they look good, but they just don't believe it?
You use those principles. Like for me, you go back to the science of it and say, I know you don't see it right now, but this is what's happening, and just keep reiterating that this is an objective rule that's visually happening. And then they start getting compliments.
Yeah,
and then it's a slow thing where then they start feeling good, and then they start like getting a little bolder and excited, and it's really fun.
And I was gonna say, like, one of my questions I had written down before is like, do you go up to people and you say like, hey, I have things that I would suggest to fix your wardrobe? And I don't think that is something that I'm gathering now in this conversation, because it seems like you want to be more of like the springboard and just like the idea piece, instead of your ideas of style imparted on someone else, where you're like, here's my knowledge, tap into it if you want, but this is ultimately what you want, not what I want.
What are your goals? And I always meet people where they are.
That's fantastic.
Versus being that old, like, what not to wear.
I was going to say Stacy. Was her name Stacy?
Yeah. Everybody at the end, it'd be this like goth punk girl, and then they're like, you're going to be in a blazer and jeans. And, like,
but I think that's important, because I think you brought up a point about like, our clothes are what we wear to be comfortable, because we have to wear clothes. Obviously, we're in a society that you can't be naked unless you're in Europe at the Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Black's Beach. I still am clothed there. But it's you never think about that when you get dressed. I don't, at least. Like, I'm not like, how am I going to be perceived today? It's like, I'm just going to put on whatever I need, and then if I go out in society, that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, but I think part of that too is like where you are in your life, right?
Yeah.
You're still a young person. You know, as you get older, like one of the things I think you always struggle with as an older person is, I don't want to dress and look like I'm trying to be forever 21 when I'm no longer 21. You know, like, or how do you kind of I've fallen over a rut, because it's like that looks worked for a long time, but.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, number one, we are in an era that the idea of what is an aged dress code is different now, and like what you shouldn't wear over a certain age. I think a lot of it is where you've evolved as a human. So I think the rut usually comes from you just haven't explored anything new, because especially for menswear, there are fewer options in general.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it's so easy. I mean, when I met my husband, the shit I had to go through in his closet and get rid of. Like, those are my concert pants.
Oh no!
I need you to come to my
closet. And they were blue cut jeans.
Yeah.
And he was stuck in, especially in, San Diego isn't a place that is curious about fashion.
Not as much as where you live, no.
And so I think you're probably in a rut because you're just sticking with the same brands or the same things that you did. And I think it's less about age and more about you're bored because you've changed your perspective.
Yeah, but I think it's also like you judge sometimes the people you see. Like you see an older woman dressing in something, you go, oh my God, that's not girl. You're trying to dress like your daughter or your granddaughter right now. And
like
that
Mean Girls.
feeds.
But that's a societal change, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's something where we have those notions, and so then you're putting it on yourself when what actually needs to happen is a systemic change in a way that
like
I'm
that
not
Dolly
suggesting
Parton.
my approach is
yeah,
healthy.
no,
I
of
know
course.
it's unhealthy.
And that's where I'm saying, let's change, let's talk. I'm in the therapy chair.
So okay, so you have your own podcast, and it's called
Wear Who You Are, WEAR.
Okay, and then why did you do a fashion podcast?
So again, I think it's that idea of what I do. It was so one-on-one, and there is a certain income that is associated with me being able to make a living and have a team and a business in New York. And so I wanted it to be, again, a safe place for people. I always say everyone has a style, and every style deserves a seat. So when you say you don't have a style, you do, because you put clothes on every day.
You
so
right,
you are projecting something about
I am
yourself.
lucky to be clothed during
You're
this
lucky.
recording.
I'm kind of.
Or you're lucky to be clothed, actually. There we go. No, you're
We're
lucky, I'm
that
clothed.
he is clothed.
Thank you. We went there.
I feel unlucky. That I did that then so it can be more accessible, because I think it's truly this thing where you look at the fashion industry, the mean girl industry. I mean, look at what we've done with weight and all of that, and I think it's just a bad place that we can do better.
I'm curious that I'll pull on that thread, because it's like, obviously, like, fashion is synonymous with like thin models. Mm-hmm. How are you breaking that down, especially in New York, where like it's a big fashion like hub, mm-hmm. and you're like being inclusive with your ethos, like a big warm hug, because people probably go in and they're like, oh my god, like I'm not skinny enough, like, and there's like this perception, like, how are you kind of, I guess, breaking those barriers down?
Again, number one is finding brands that are more inclusive, that have, and not everyone can, and I also understand independent brands have to make choices because they have to sell and make money, but I think it's finding people who are inclusive within that space, and there is a subset anywhere that's trying to do it right. The loudest voices aren't necessarily the voices that we want to always align with. So I think it's that, and there are a lot of brands doing better. If you look at the runway, there are curvier women, there's women of all ages. I think the last few fashion weeks have shown that that there is more inclusivity, that we're working toward that. I also think the idea of having a thin model is that clothes, it's like you're on a hanger. Yeah. It's putting the clothes on a hanger. So I think it's that, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, just look at it as an expression of art, and then we can translate it to you. Because anything that goes down the runway isn't what's actually put in the stores. It's shorter, it's sheer, it's all of these things to put on the show and the art of it.
Right. One thing I was going to ask you is, I'm a baker, and one of the ways I tap into getting more excited about baking is competitions. And in the fashion world, there are these competitions, and for many of us, like, that's the first place we see what a designer actually does or what a stylist actually does. Is that good for the industry, or is that makes it more difficult? That's a good
question. I think if it's done well, it's good for the industry. I think Project Runway number one, it's promoting really hardworking young talent. I just worked with Christian Siriano on a custom bridal gown for a client, which was super cool, and he was awesome. One of the original Project Runway. So I do think it makes it more accessible anytime you get a peek behind the curtain. I think that people get more interested and feel like they get to be part of it. So I think it's generally good. The issue with styling a little bit is anyone can be a stylist, and you don't have to have certification. And so and the difference between an influencer versus someone actually doing the damn thing, it's really hard to, I worked with somebody who says that they were really involved in styling fashion week. I was like, you were a dresser, you showed up 2 hours before the show and put clothes on. Bodies. But you can see how people everything now
I'm a dresser.
Yes.
So now, how did you build your clientele, and how do you get your name out there for your business?
Badass. People like me. So I got my first few clients, and I was still working full time as an editor, and then I just started getting a lot of word of mouth, and then I had a website before when you could actually have an SEO strategy. So I was very lucky to pop very high on search engines early. So that was just a really fortuitous timing. But I get a lot of referrals now, and my clients come back every season.
For those who don't know, SEO means search engine optimization.
I just rolled with it. CEO.
Did you learn that yourself, or did you have people who knew?
In the beginning, I had to learn everything myself because I had no money. My first year after my divorce, and I had my business, I made a whopping $19,000
in New York.
City.
Oh man!
So
talk about the starving artist.
That'll pay for bagels.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's it.
Well, no, if you're lucky.
One of my things that I've always enjoyed about knowing you is that if you didn't know how to do it, you were going to figure it out because you had the end goal in mind of what you wanted to accomplish, and you're like, okay, but here's some roadblocks, but no big deal, I'm going to learn SEO. No big deal, I'm going to learn how to do this. And that's just the Natalie mantra. Is no big deal, I'll figure it out.
If there's a wall in my way, I'm going to kick it down.
Yeah.
That's
I've always appreciated that.
I'm scrappy. I would say I'm scrappy. I don't have to do that now because there are things, of course I wasn't doing it as well as I could.
Sure.
But I was doing it.
It's been refined.
Good
over the
enough. It was good enough.
So, who are some designers that you love to work with?
A lot. So I would say some shout out to smaller independent designers I love. One is ADN in Paris. She's lovely, Leia. She's a really special person and makes very beautiful things. I love the brand A Piece Apart lately. I love the boutique Pivot. Actually, I love a boutique because if they curate it really well, you can walk in and just see everything that you would like, so they curate it for you. Who else am I liking right now?
And are they all based out of like New York or Paris, or they're like some like surprising? Or you're like, wow, you live in Indiana.
Pivot's Columbus. And
Okay,
it's a super
so
cool.
Columbus,
yeah.
In Ohio?
Yeah, Ohio.
Oh, Ohio has.
I told you.
Oh my God, Columbus is the Paris of the States.
Columbus is the fashion capital of Ohio.
They do have a fashion week. I will say.
It's on a Tuesday.
It's on your lunch break.
So now that you're doing like this kind of like bi-coastal thing between New York and
Oh my God, you're
San Diego,
bi?
I'm bi.
Are you doing anything in like LA at all? Are you taking advantage of being here, or is New York? Is there a reason to ever go like tap into like the LA market?
Not right now. I'm trying to offer more virtual things now. So I just launched a course for founders, entrepreneurs, and executives. That's a virtual experience. So I'm working on that. I like being in San Diego because I get to create. So I have a book agent now. I'm working on my book. It's where I don't have clients. And so I get to let my brain reset and have creative time. So I block off writing and producing. And
Well, is this like the next step that you want to go to? Is like, okay, you've done the forward-facing, client-facing part of this. So now I want to get into like the teaching, the more creative parts, going out there and doing talks and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah. And you know, it's not sustainable at some point to be running around a city and shopping. And my skills, I've just learned so much, and so I like to collect it, and I do it. That's the right. It's speaking, getting it out into the world, the messaging, and then I have a team under me now that they can help do one-on-one, and I'm taking fewer one-on-one clients now.
Okay. Look at you.
All
Do you do any design? Like, okay. No. So you're not like, I'm going to like conceptualize this blouse.
No.
You're like, the blouse has been made. I like that.
You know what? I'm an editor through and through.
Yeah,
The full circle.
Yeah.
One thing I do wish designers would do is consult someone who's working with real women.
Interesting.
And real men. Because there's so many times I'll look at a design, I'm like, that's not going to sell because they put a pocket in a really unfortunate place. Or they didn't line it correctly.
or that particular design has a red spot right in at an unfortunate.
Do you know the number of times there's been a design and it'll be like right on a woman's nipples, and we're like, all I can see is
It's nipples.
it's nipples.
It's like, well, that pleat is not pretty.
That pleat's that's not a pretty pleat. Yeah,
That's
I wish
a nipple
they'd consult
pleat.
sometimes.
So let's talk about the DNC and like the fashion that happened there, because there wasn't a lot of fashion at the RNC. I'm sorry, no. But like you talked about Michelle Obama, I was really impressed by Kamala's stepdaughter, who is a fashion icon in herself.
Which one was she?
Icon. She's all over Instagram and TikTok.
Because there were 3 girls that presented. Was like a goddaughter.
Ella Emhoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was the white one with the glasses with the
fair skinned one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She got a
On the
really
right,
quirky, creative
she
style.
kind of talked a
tattoos.
little like Emma Stone.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit, like the very in the mouth.
The dress and
I love
the
what she wore,
outfit she
yeah.
put together for the final night was amazing. Plus, she used
She
smaller
made that?
designers as well. No, she worked with one of the designers to make the outfit, who was an independent
Wow.
designer. But she also used cult fashion brands like Peanut, and some other ones that are really great. But like her whole look.
I love her look. It's so creative. It's so unabashedly. It's unapologetic. Where
Yeah.
she's like, this is me, and this is, for me, what I loved is it's a new view of what political could be.
Yeah.
She wasn't, and what I love also is that Kamala and Doug didn't tell her to dress a certain
Yeah,
way.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I think is really cool to say, show up as you. And I also love that we're taking camo back.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And the American flag.
Camo and American flag.
Yeah, and so I just found it to be super cool and inspiring.
Oh my god, I almost didn't see the hat.
Yeah.
Because it's camouflage.
All I see is stitching. That's one of my favorite jokes. The camo joke is...
So 2 decades ago, I listened to someone do a speech, and they talked about Republican thought and the right wing, and the 3 things that they were commandeering were the flag, the family, and faith. That was like the things that became right-wing principles or Republican principles, and you are seeing it. All 3 of those are actually coming back, and Donnie's not helping that. He's actually
Correct.
helping show that there could be another perspective on that. You know, patriotism is not just.
Absolutely.
I love that
She's
people
so
also
pretty.
were taking cues from the DNC and talking about how women empowerment, it changed it through the fashion that was presented there.
What I love about Kamala, if we want to talk about her style, is
a
that
pantsuit. I love it.
I love her pantsuit, but what I love in opposition to Hillary Clinton is that she still brings, using my style personalities, a softness to everything. So she'll play with silks, and she plays with silks, and she has the pearls, and she has her soft hair, and so there is that idea, which I find inspiring as a woman, is that feminism is soft too. It's approachable, it's motherly, it's joy. And
yeah.
when she wears her Converse, her Chucks, that's that
I
relaxed
love
where
that.
it's like, be fun.
Relatable, yeah.
It's so relatable. And so I find her style to also be it's authoritative too, though. I trust her based on the style choices she's making. And it's really spot on, and she hasn't changed her style. That's what I like.
This is interesting because you brought something up, and it's like, this is a great question, is because you brought up hair. So have you ever had a client where they dressed really well, but they couldn't figure out why it didn't look right, but it was because of their hair? Have you ever had a situation like that where a simple change like that made all the difference?
Hair and makeup?
Yeah, and I actually brought on a makeup artist to my team for that, to walk people through that process too, because I didn't know anything about makeup, and she took me through once I started doing more public speaking things. I'm like, I can't afford to have a professional makeup artist every time, so she empowered me to do my own beauty routine that aligned with my style in different settings. So that is something oft, if their goals are, it's almost a bigger disconnect then, because we've worked on neck down, and then they haven't addressed
their head.
The head.
How's your head?
Which one?
You're totally right about that thing about, though, between Kamala and Hillary, is like, Kamala comes off as still like super professional. She's gonna get shit done, but still kind of like a little bit more warm and inviting. And maybe that's, I don't know, like Hillary never had that.
Hillary was an executive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was, and she didn't ever want to break that. Like, you never saw Hillary as a mom.
Yeah.
But Kamala you see totally as a mom. She
Yeah.
nurture.
Yeah.
Like
Mama
the
love.
aunt I wanted. I'm like, she is the aunt that I knew I could go to and sit down and be like,
Hey, girl.
you're inspiring. Hey, girl,
Yeah.
help me out.
Who are your other, like, I guess, like, icons of fashion style that you look up to, like that we would know, like maybe like famous people,
Okay.
not
I met this girl walking down the
Say
street in New
something
York.
similar.
not like, oh yes,
oh
this
yeah, she's
obscure
the
designer
Little
in
people.
France
Let me pull
named Claudette.
Claudette is my favorite. You know Claudette. You know what I mean?
And then a second part of that question is it true that you can't wear white after Labor Day?
That is so bullshit.
Okay.
And I actually did a whole deep dive into this because this is what I do. And it was based on an archaic rule for the socioeconomically wealthy.
Was it based on snow? Like if it's snow or something?
It was based on the fact that they were all going to summer homes and they weren't having to traipse through mud and dirt, so they could wear white during that season until they came back to the city, and the city's a dirty place, and so then they had to wear darker clothes to not ruin their summer whites when they were summering in their,
Lord.
in their
I love
homes.
a good summer.
So then we're breaking it. So I will be able to wear white after Labor Day. I'm on the record.
And I will still make fun of you.
So some icons.
Some of my icons, I'm pulling them up on who you would know.
Because I'm trying to think like some of the like the old Hollywood glamour folks, like Judy Garland. Was she like like Marilyn Monroe? Like, I don't think they're fashion icons, but those are the only people I could think of.
They are fashion icons.
You went deep. Joe went deep.
I'm a little taken aback by those references.
That's all I get. No, because I don't know. Like, that's when I think of like style, I think of like old Hollywood, like glamour. Because like nowadays, it's just like a disconnect where it's like obviously I'm alive and I know that like people have style now, but it's like that's what I think is like classic style.
You know,
but
he said Julie Garland gingham dress with an apron. That's what
yes.
The last movie he watched was
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
It's the only movie
no, it
we
was
watched.
Meet You in St. Louis,
Yeah, so
which is a great movie.
I would say some of mine are. I think Anne Hathaway's killing it right now.
Oh,
She
okay.
really has, but yeah.
She really has. I love her stylist, Erin Walsh, and
When I see her, I actually think of you. 'Cause
Really?
you guys have like similar like
Anne
body
Hathaway?
frames and just like no, you really. I'm like, oh, it's my friend Natalie, but it's Anne Hathaway.
well, sometimes we do get confused. all the time.
And they ask you to sing the Les Mis soundtrack.
I dreamed a dream. No, don't. I'm in the bathtub. I would say actually Olivia Pope. I think she's
Okay.
I think has great style.
Kerry Washington. So
Kerry
great.
Washington.
Oh yeah,
is
she's beautiful too.
Beautiful, fab. I still love Alexa Chung. I think she's.
You know, I've always like. She was out there for a long time, and people were really big to her. And then all of a sudden, she just like.
I still love her.
Yeah, I still do too. I think
Alexa
she's great
Chung.
because she was the first host of not making the cut. It was the other fashion one with French Tan on.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about. And she was the first host with him on there. And in the second season, she was gone.
I love her.
But she's great. She's a great fashion.
I think she also it's approachable, and so I think that's what I really.
But she
like
also
about her,
doesn't.
too.
She understands how to mix both mainstream as well as cult and underground.
Exactly.
Very much a Harajuku kind of feel to her.
Totally.
So
What
Yeah.
was the woman that Gwendolyn Universe was her Instagram. She was one of the performers on like Game of Thrones or something, but she had this incredible fashion sense.
Love her. Yeah, she was.
Oh, she's the tall
Yes.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I
hi.
love her.
She used to have an incredible, like, just and really her own thing.
And I think on that vein, like a Tilda Swinton is always to me just inspired. I think Kate Blanchett.
Oh.
She's always because she dresses for fashion and who she is, and that's what I love. Instead of Zendaya is
I feel like Kate Blanchett is a real life vampire.
probably.
I know we're already like we could talk to you for hours and hours, but I want to know too, like going to Taylor Swift or like this performative style, because like all of her outfit changes.
16, I think.
Yeah, so like a little bit about that, maybe a little bit about like Beyonce's same thing, like this performative style that happens.
Well,
and what's your thoughts? Or like, are you there being like, oh my god, I love that, or like, oh, what are you doing there, or like,
I think it's interesting. Like Beyonce, I think always slays and has a lot of bum on, and I think her style is so fierce. Love Taylor, but she's definitely dressing to her tween crowd, I would say. And so I think I like when she does a little more maturity and coming into like when she does If I Were the Man and she puts on that suit jacket.
For her, it's very interesting because I think she does cater her fashion to her audience because she knows that they are going to recreate it.
Yeah.
Whereas Beyonce is like, she'll do something, but her fan base doesn't take it literal. They take the
Correct.
They take like the inspiration of it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
like she was Renaissance ball, so they were all in like silver, but it wasn't like exactly what she was wearing.
I think that's a great point. I think you're spot on with the fan base. And so to that point, Taylor is connecting to her fan base. They can recreate it. I mean, we went to the Eras tour.
Right.
And everyone, you knew which era they were from.
Interesting, okay.
They could.
Very distinctive.
Yes.
You know, so each era is very like you saw somebody with like a T-shirt that had names written all over it. You knew that was this particular era.
I call it like inspirational versus aspirational.
Correct.
Like,
yes.
Taylor there's an inspiration that you can translate to yourself. Beyonce, when I look at it, I'm like, you are just aspirational, you are untouchable, but I can take elements of it and translate that fierceness to myself. I think that's a great point.
So we can cut this if you don't have an answer to it, but like I've also wondered, like we have some drag race fans in the house. So what are your thoughts about like seeing like the fashion that happens in drag race, or just like are you blown away by that? Or you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they do that in like 5 minutes? Or what are your thoughts with watching drag race?
I don't watch a lot of reality television.
You're so much better.
Ew, rude.
I just don't. You know, I just don't watch a lot of television. Not because I don't love it. And,
What do you do on a plane?
You've got you have a fashion empire to run.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, when I was on my plane ride back, I was watching Poor Things. Have you guys watched Poor Things?
It's a long movie.
It's a great movie, but I didn't realize how much nudity is in it.
That's my favorite thing on the plane. Were you on an aisle seat? Were you on the aisle?
Fortunately, the guy next to me had a blanket over his head the whole time. But I was with all
Probably
these
because you were
Swifties.
looking at porn.
Girl, let it be known. You get on that aisle seat and you turn it for them.
Listen,
If there's a dick or some titties, you know what? Here, you're gonna see it eventually, kids.
So many titties.
Don't you remember though that they used to you do like the airport edit?
Yes.
I watched full Monty on a plane.
There was no airplane edit.
There's no airplane edit on that.
No,
And I
not
was like
anymore.
looking around to make sure no little 50s, like 13, like 12-year-old girls were there because I didn't want their parents to
Girl,
be
turn up the
mad.
brightness, angle it. You want an AirPod share? You want a
Joe's
share
like,
pod?
do you see this? Do you see that?
Such a
No, because there was a movie with Jennifer Lawrence, the one where she like is hired to be the girlfriend of the guy.
Oh, yeah.
And she is running around naked on the beach, and I had no idea. And I'm on a plane to Cleveland, or I think I was on my way to Europe, and I was like,
You
there
mean
are
to Paris?
titties, and I was
Paris,
like,
yeah.
you know what? This is just act cool. No one's gonna make a thing happen.
Do you like couple with your hands?
Nope. I was just like, I
That's
don't
our
want to
Mormon
make.
showing.
That's our Mormon show.
I don't want to make it obvious because then you draw attention to it.
Andy will turn it a little bit because he always sits at the window, so he'll turn it towards the window, and I'm like, are you watching Elite?
I was just going to say that. Tell us Elite.
What's elite?
It's that Spanish serial story, and it's all like young, beautiful people. And
They're all
half
naked.
the episode, they're just wearing underwear.
And they're all just having sex.
And what streaming platform is this on?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Elite?
There's about 8
Elite.
seasons.
Oh.
A lot to get into.
I mean, after Scandal, maybe I'll get elite.
It's
That
right
is
in
a
your
scandal.
wheelhouse, too.
Is it hot, man?
It is very
Bunch of
hot.
speedos,
It's
wrestling,
very hot.
naked. There we go.
Done. I will say though, drag I think is incredibly impressive and inspiring. I do think there's so much creativity, and also it is not easy to translate even just sizing, like shoe size. I mean, it's a whole obviously it's like subcult, but it's I find drag, I find looking at athletes right now, those are places I like to get inspiration because it's outside of the direct fashion world, but it's people who are really stepping into
Interesting.
I love that.
their visibility and roles.
So, for our listeners,
Yes.
go ahead and give out your socials, where they can find you, where they can listen to you, your podcast, your website. all
Oh, yay.
that stuff.
Thank you for that. So my social on Instagram is my name, @Natalie_Tincher, or my business is @BU, the letters BU Style. My podcast is Where Who You Are, WEAR, Who You Are, and it's on all of the streaming platforms. And then my business website is www.bu.style.
Oh, nice.
Boo.
Boo.
Oh.
You are beautiful.
What does the BU stand for?
Be you. Be who you are.
Oh.
I'd like to ask one more question. Sorry. What's the one like free tip, fashion free tip that's like you want to give out to the universe
For dudes.
I mean our audience is mainly gentlemen, so like
Or those that identify
as
Male
that's a
presenting.
little bit of like, and you can say no, thank you. You can you can come to my website and I'll charge you. But like, what's
No,
what's
I
a little
love
bit of
giving
free advice?
free advice. I would say number one.
Don't wear ankle gray socks.
Well,
I love these. They're my favorite socks.
I think they're great.
I can't handle calf socks. I will wear ankle, like the no-show socks, and that's apparently how you can tell a millennial from a Gen Z.
is.
And I was
That
like,
is.
you don't know. When we were young, we wore the ankle socks because our parents wore the calf socks. Like
Yes,
the
yes.
mid socks.
Yeah.
And now the kids are like, my
Okay.
parents are wearing ankle socks, so I don't want that, so
Correct.
I'm wearing the...
Correct.
I can't. Give me the ankles.
You know, I would say for menswear, stop getting your shirts too tight, your button-down shirts. So if it's gapping when you put it on at the button, at the chest.
That's some great advice.
I think wearing clothes too tight is the absolute good advice. Never go for the tight.
And the other thing I would say is that a low-rise pant and cuffing your pants is creating a very short proportional of a leg.
Oh.
And you know, that's fine if that's the choice you want to make, but there are certain trends that maybe aren't enhancing your visual.
Wait, low-rise pants?
So you know those? It's like a lot of menswear turn to like a lower rise pant because men wear their pants very low, and then they would cuff their pants.
Oh, I don't cuff
And
my
so
pants,
then it would create this really short leg.
And then they
line.
wear it with a boot, and I'm like, okay.
Do you like the suits, the skin tight pantsuit, skinny jean pant with no sock and a gap?
Ooh, I love a no sock.
I love a no sock look.
I love a
It's
no sock.
very European. I do really like that. I think the skin tight is, again, if it's your choice and that's what you want, but I do think that a lot of times it's ill-fitting, so there'll be a lot of pulling and so
Mind the gap.
mind the gap.
Oh my god,
So
yes.
I would say generally would say let's just size up and give the illusion of it being fitted and tailored versus it being skin tight.
It's amazing advice.
So no leggings.
You know what?
Unless you want them.
I think a megging would be great.
And before we go, I just have to say, I'm very surprised that your favorite Taylor Swift song is not Style. Okay.
You know what? I just don't like to be obvious.
That's a good song,
never
though.
Go out of style. It's up
And
there.
then Style and New Romantics, because my favorite album is 1989.
That's my favorite album.
Oh my
You guys have become
god.
best friends? Oh my god.
Yes.
So.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you again to Natalie for being on our podcast. We
Yeah,
really
sure.
appreciate it.
Go check her
It was
out,
a lot of
yeah.
fun, and everybody have a great week.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to These Unprecedented Gays. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and join us next time as we continue exploring the ever-changing landscape of queer life. Until then, stay proud, stay fierce, and stay unprecedented.